intro.
Yeah. That was a good one. Hello and welcome to Spiritual Waffle. My name is Jess.
I am Sarah.
And today we're going to be talking about Reiki.
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
But first we need to say what we've done spiritually. But this is the second podcast we've done today and we used up all of our spiritual things on the first one. Is there anything you can think of that you've done?
Absolutely fuck all.
Should have thought of this before we pressed record. I got a new crystal. Does that count?
Yep.
Let's give a shout out to Simon at Finest Fossils in Hadnam.
Yes.
Bradmore Farm.
I have heard about him. Gemma Jewel was talking about him.
Yeah, Gemma Jewel. Gemma Jewel should actually own a crystal shop and call it Gemma's Jewels.
Oh, fuck yeah.
What the hell is she doing?
Oh my God.
Tutoring.
You're welcome,
Say,
Gemma.
you're welcome, Gemma, if you're listening. Of course you'll be listening. Simon, I would just go to see Simon, to be frank with you. But he has the most amazing collection of crystals and ammonites, fossils. And last time I saw him, he said, I just got back from Morocco and he knows the locals there. And he said, they just let me just dig into the little Atlas Mountains to get all the good stuff.
Just mining away.
Yeah, so he's not, he does get stuff ordered in from what I can tell, but he also knows the places and he will go there and he's been all over the world. And I got an amazing howlite, are they called worry stones?
Yeah.
They're like the flat ones.
I like them. Palm stones.
Yeah, palm stones. So yeah, I got a new crystal, which I absolutely don't need because I probably have about 20 crystals at this point, but they're pretty.
You're so pretty.
And so yeah, get yourself down to Finest Fossils in Bradmore Farm.
And after listening to this, he's probably going to offer us all a discount.
Well, I should hope so.
Simon.
Should we just say Spiritual Waffle 10? It's just if he needs an idea. I don't know if he would list this sort of stuff. He doesn't normally have the... Oopsie daisy, you dropped my pen. Doesn't normally have the radio on when I go in there, but maybe. And he's got crystal bracelets and stuff.
Love
And
it.
I normally shop on Etsy for crystal bracelets or a crystal, but much better to actually go down to a shop. And I only found him recently and actually put that goddamn thing in your hand and be
Feel it,
is
baby.
is this for me?
Do you want me?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well done you.
Thanks.
I basically spent my week cleaning up Cheerios from the kitchen floor.
Spiritual.
Which is, being on your hands and knees is pretty spiritual.
Did you do a little cat-cow whilst you were down there?
Absolutely.
Always.
Deep breaths. Oh, look, you're not going anywhere. You live in our house now, Cheerio. Welcome to the family.
Did you find you had to do more meditation and more breathing to just kind of keep you calm?
Yes.
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 It's a strong yes.
I did.
Okay, great.
And got my kids to do it too.
Oh, good. Are they quite receptive to it?
I mean, they'll often just walk in the room and be like, but in a kind of piss-taking way. But, it's going in there, so I'll take it. Take all the piss you like as long as you're actually doing it.
Amazing. Okay, so we're going to start off with a really small, tiny question. What is Reiki? It'll be a quick one that you can answer.
Just do. The word Reiki means universal life force energy. It was the actual term Reiki is coined by Mikao Usui. But essentially it is energy healing, energy medicine. He actually was a Japanese Buddhist monk, very interesting man, studied loads of different scriptures, Christian faiths, Hinduism, and was just kind of looking for a way to access energy and use it to heal himself and others. And he has a very interesting life. But it was actually Reiki itself has only really was discovered in 1922, which obviously feels really soon, just the other day, in fact. But I think it's important to realize that Reiki is energy healing, which has been around for thousands and thousands of years and known as Qi in Chinese and Prana in Sanskrit and used by many indigenous cultures throughout the millennia. So that's what it is.
Excellent.
In a nutshell.
That's excellent. And how does it work exactly?
Well, I mean, my understanding and the way I look at it is we are universal life force energy. Everything is universal life force energy. So it's not like Reiki is over here and you need to go and learn it or acquire it. It's essentially, it is us. And we have access to the infinite abundance of universal life force energy from source that flow through us and out of our hands. But I feel like, especially in the West, it's like we're born with this innate power and access to this energy. And then through environments, diets, culture, and a load of belief systems, it's almost like we're born as this radio box with access to all these different frequencies. But through all those external influences, our tuner kind of gets knocked off the, banging tune of Reiki and just hears white noise. So it works by first being attuned to it, which essentially is a sacred ritual, where the supposedly, in inverted commas, Reiki master, um, but somebody that is attuned to level 3 of Reiki, attunes the participant back onto that channel so that they become a conduit of energy and a clear channel so that the Reiki energy can flow through them and out of their hands. Because it's important to note that you're not using your life force energy, that would be exhausting and depleting. You're using the abundance of source energy and universal life force energy. So you want to channel that through you and out through your hands. And then there is a series of hand positions that correspond to the chakras in the body's energy centers. And each one of these chakras is kind of like, is an energy center that absorbs and distributes energy to the physical body and to particular glands that relate in the nervous system. And then you also have a series of symbols, different symbols for each level of attunement, that resonate with a particular frequency and vibration, that can be used to harness different intentions of the energy and of the healing, like emotional balance, clearing negative energy, cutting cords, grounding, clearing, protection. Um, and so you use these to sort of focus the energy in particular areas. Yeah, that's kind of how it works.
So can you like talk us through, say I've come to you for a Reiki session, what would that look like in sort of a practical sense? And also what does it feel like for you to be offering this service, I suppose?
Do you know, it feels very different every time. The first time I had a Reiki treatment, I felt nothing and just thought like, oh, either I'm broken, you're broken.
We're all
Yeah,
broken.
either way, or it's just a crock of shit. And you know, sometimes that can still happen. But the more and more you do it, the more your relationship grows with it, and you can have any experience from not feeling it at all to having an incredibly profound and vivid experience. When I'm treating people, there's also a kind of a feedback loop. And that's not necessarily what Reiki is about. It's actually just about giving, and allowing the source energy to go wherever it's needed in the client's body, and handing that intelligence and that over to this higher force. But you do also receive information from those energy centers. And then you can choose to share them with the client, or
In just in messages like, oh, this person's, is it just getting down to like brass tacks? So imagine I'm lying here with the message that you would get, and I presume this is different for everyone who does Reiki, but would the message be like when we did have that session and you were like, your masculine is screaming at me? Was it my masculine screaming at you, or was it a message from me, from my body going, I am unbalanced, my feminine is too on the back seat? Like what did that sound like? Or was it just word, like what?
it's very different for each person. It depends how you receive and access information and on the sort of quantum field. Some people have it as images, really strong, vivid images. They'll see images of trauma and certain things that happen to people. Some people hear it, they're auditory, so they will hear messages coming through. I feel it. So it immediately appears in my body, and I know at this stage of my practicing for quite some time now that I know it's not mine. At the beginning, quite often I would get confused and be like, is that me? Is that my information? Like, why am I feeling that? But now I can kind of discern quite easily between the fact that that's not mine and it's somebody else's. So yeah, it's a bit different for everybody. The same as for the receiver of Reiki, it's very different. Some people will feel nothing, and then it varies to feeling a lot of heat. Some people feel it as cold. Some people have described it as iron filings, which I thought was actually a really good description. I felt that quite a lot, like in your head, especially like iron filings sort of moving through your brain. Pressure, and it's a hands-off practice, but quite a lot of my clients will feel a quite considerable amount of pressure on certain chakras, especially the heart. I feel like I'm sitting on their heart, and I
And just you're
assure
not.
them I am not.
Knowing you so deeply as I do, I wouldn't
It's
put that
possible.
past you.
It depends on who the client is. If it's you,
You're just sat there
I
going,
might sit in your heart, might sit in your head. But yeah,
but it's a hands-off practice, and I
it
would
can be
be
hands on. People do put their hands on, and
just like a soft touch.
yeah, very soft touch.
Not like a massage.
No,
No.
during the attunement, I would tend to put my hands on in certain hand positions, but it can be either or. It doesn't really matter. The energy's coming out their hands. I find it more distracting to put my hands on somebody because then they are feeling my presence of my physicality and I'm feeling theirs as opposed to just allowing the energy to flow through. But you do you.
And I would be in our session, in our imaginary session, lying down,
Yeah.
like on a like bed.
Yeah. You don't have to be. So the way I would treat people is always lying down when they come to me for sessions, and then I work down their body from their head to their feet, working down the different chakras. Then I work back up again, and then I work in the auric field. Um, but you can, like when my kids hurt themselves and they get their ouchies, they'll come running asking for healing hands. So then I will just put the Reiki directly on their fingers or toes or knees or whatever is hurting, or if they're like emotionally dysregulated, especially like just before bed perhaps, and then I would always put my hands like on their heart and just send some Reiki and soothe their nervous system.
That's lovely. And I know that you are able to deliver your Reiki sessions via Zoom. Is that what you did during COVID? Or like
No,
distant
but
healing,
yes, yes.
you don't even have to be talking to the
You don't even
person.
have to do it on Zoom.
You can do it on
Oh boy,
anything.
yeah, the old
Zoom.
space-time continuum. Let's so yeah, that distance healing is like remote healing. You can do it via Zoom because then it allows you to talk to each other and the person to lie down, but really the person doesn't even need to be aware as long as they've given permission for you to access their energy. Then you can deliver Reiki remotely to a person. You can also deliver it to a past life or a future event that needs healing. And
Future
okay,
event.
yeah, I'm gonna attempt to explain.
Please
I
do.
mean, let's be honest. All I really know is that I don't know anything. So,
Fantastic.
but how I can understand this is, um, you know, time and space on a quantum level are really just a concept. They're not actually real. It's just about relativity that helps us to understand life. Okay, so I can use the hand. Now I know I use the hand a lot, and you've heard this before, so try not to fall asleep. But let's just begin with the hand. So, in my understanding of, well, everything of life, is that source energy, this big ball of abundance, incredible source energy that is absolutely everything. Say that's your hand, your fist. And it knew itself as this amazing, extraordinary feat of existence, but it couldn't experience itself as it because it just was it. It was just is. And so there was nothing relative for it to know itself. So it then decided to divide and separate itself into different entities so that it could experience itself being awesome. So say then it creates, the four fingers and the thumb. And so each one of these fingers is a kind of representative of individual people and lives. And the first finger experiences life very differently to the middle finger, who has, two friends on either side of him. The little finger feels like he's the shortest guy in town and a bit lonely because he doesn't have a friend. and they're all experiencing life relative to each other, which helps them have a concept of how awesome they are based on the relativity between the other finger. But they are all essentially the hand, so they're all made up of the same thing, and they're all connected by this sort of web, and that sort of expands out into that web of connectedness of like the whole, let's just take the earth. So there's like these energetic pathways and this sort of web of consciousness, of waves of energy that connect absolutely everything on the planet to each other. I think that's why, like, say, thousands of years ago when there was very limited technology, if one idea sprung up on one side of the globe from a tribe that all of a sudden, worked out a way to like develop a well for water, on the other side of the globe, similar tribes would have the same information, because there's this kind of invisible web of information being shared across, and that sort of collective consciousness, because we are all one and we are all connected and we're all from the same stuff. In the same way, scientists have proven if you take a cell and you split it and you take it to the other side of the world and you do something to one of those cells, the other will react in exactly the same way, being what, on the other side of the world from it. So really, it's that connectedness that we're dealing with when we're talking about distant Reiki. And I guess, to just not stop the metaphors there, like if you take this pillow and it's the earth, and say you, Jessica, are this corner of the pillow on, say, like in the North Pole, and I am this corner of the pillow on the South Pole, and all these little threads connect us, even though this side doesn't has no relation to this side. If this side decides to exert a force or send healing energy into the pillow and pushes the pillow, that top corner receives it straight away. It receives the impact and the force because of this invisible connectedness. So that is the best way I can kind of describe being able to instantaneously send energy to another source remotely that is perhaps miles away or just round the corner.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
it's
I
wild.
still don't really
It's
understand it, let's
still
be
wild.
honest.
The
But
more we
that's
talk about it, the more I feel the same. That I'm like, I don't know if I understand. But
yeah.
like, yeah. So could you just talk us through the benefits of Reiki?
So there's so many benefits. I mean, from the most simple form benefit of is calming your nervous system, instigating the parasympathetic nervous system, soothing all of the hormones, the cortisol, the adrenaline in the body, which is allowing the body to recalibrate. And, Reiki is a very holistic approach. It believes that every physical injury or mental disorder begins first in the energy field. And when the energy field's disrupted, this then densifies down and condenses, and therefore produces either a physical or mental disorder in the body. So it can help facilitate healing of injuries, reduces inflammation, emotional traumas, dysregulation, um, all of the glands that affect the body, the thyroids, the pineal gland, the sex glands, they're all related to a particular chakra. So when you're channeling the energy to each chakra, that then goes into that particular gland and is distributed into that particular area of the body. So you treat the whole body as a whole, because any imbalance or symptom in one area of the body, with Reiki, you would see that as an imbalance in the whole energetic body. So by sending Reiki to the whole energy body, the body can restore itself to balance and essentially self-heal.
And you mentioned earlier that you sort of use healing hands with your kids. Presumably that means that it's safe for children, or you're just being a reckless mother.
Absolutely reckless. It is
And is it the
definitely.
same? Obviously you wouldn't treat anybody the same because everybody's different, but is there any differences between how you would treat an adult to a child in a Reiki situation?
No, not if I was delivering the session. So it's completely safe on kids. It's actually brilliant on kids. Kids are super sensitive. They have been born with their own life force energy and are young, so haven't developed as many limiting beliefs to sort of prevent them accessing their own energy. So giving a Reiki treatment is incredibly beneficial for children. Um, and my kids are both attuned, so it's also possible for them to treat themselves. And I think it's a really good practice for kids to have access to their own Reiki and be able to self-soothe and use it to help heal themselves. The only sort of contraindication I would say about kids is that they shouldn't necessarily do it on other people, because they're still too young to really know how to clear, ground, and protect their energy. And that's really important, because if you don't do that correctly, then you end up using up your own life force energy to heal other people instead of allowing that universal life force energy to flow through you.
Mm. And can you speak a bit to like how you started? I know we have that episode where we introduce who we are and we sort of go through our story, but if you can run through like how you found Reiki and your teachers and when you got attuned and
Yeah, I mean, because how we talked about, kind of always having this sort of awareness of energy and that feeling a bit like a kind of bad word in some ways.
mm,
And I think Reiki was the first thing that always sung to me, because it was kind of more widely accepted. It was as a modality of energy healing, of something that was used and wasn't, although it was woo woo, wasn't so woo woo.
mm,
I think because it actually was spread from America. So Makawasui had a number of students and set up some centers in Japan. And then a lady called Takata, I'm really bad at pronouncing everyone's names, but she was like a Hawaiian Japanese lady, I believe. And she had this amazing experience where she went to hospital. She had a brain tumor, and she was in getting prepped for surgery for her brain tumor. And then she had a vision that said, you're not meant to have this surgery. You're meant to go to Japan and find this man, Makawasui, and get healed by him from this phenomenon known as Reiki. At this point, nobody really knew what it was. So she went, followed that guidance, left the hospital, went to Usui, trained under him, cleared her brain tumor, and then it was her that brought it back to America and set up a load of clinics everywhere. So I think just geographically, it making its way to us via America meant that it was probably a bit more almost socially acceptable terminology. And also because it was quite a practical application, as opposed to just being entirely based on, oh, in your head or your experience. There was a kind of protocol, and you instantly can feel it. That really sung to me, because then I could, once I got attuned, and I got attuned with actually a friend of mine, Danielle Galway, and who I used to go on retreats with. She facilitated some cacao ceremony retreats. She would often give Reiki treatments during some of our cacao journeys. And I remember feeling it so intensely from her that I thought, oh, I really want to be attuned with you. And so I did. And I actually, one of my level 2 attunement was all done via Zoom. I
wow.
know. So it was and I wasn't even present at the training. The teachings were done via Zoom, and then the actual attunement practice was done. I don't know, when she had an afternoon free over a particular week, and I didn't even need to be aware of it, because it's your higher self and your higher body. But I felt it. She told us when it was going to happen, and
You could feel it.
yeah, you could choose to sit in ceremony and tune into it, or you could just go about your business. And I did a bit of both.
Wow.
Because I had a lot on. So yeah, and that really allowed me to then have the belief in this distant Reiki, because I could feel it. And I have since, obviously done distant Reiki sessions. And actually, some of the most profound experiences from my clients have been from distant healing. And then it allows you, I have a little Reiki box. And then before I go to bed, I will send Reiki to my Reiki box. And in that box will be a list of names of people that need some extra healing. And there might be some things coming up for me as well that I might write down and put in the Reiki box. So you don't have to go through this whole, the format and the protocol of the hand movements. You can just send Reiki as a whole to another person,
Mm.
place, thing.
And how long have you been doing Reiki for?
How old am I now? You two, I think about 8 years. I'm not great with dates.
No,
I wasn't
neither
great
am I.
at school.
No. And what other, so where can people find you? You do offer private one-on-one sessions
So I do
when you have a time?
private clients. You can just go on sarahmooneyjones.com and book that way, or on Instagram, Sarah Energy Practitioner. And then I also attune people to level 1 and level 2. And I also do Reiki treatments during our full moon circles and retreats as well. And when people are in the middle of sound baths, I find it's really helpful to go around each person and just give a little bit of Reiki to them. And you have actually done it too.
I have been attuned by your good self, which I loved. I love learning more about it. And I knew as soon as I came to you and had my first Reiki session that I was like, oh God, I've just got to get attuned. It just feels so good. It feels so right. And I didn't really know what to expect. I think that I knew it was going to be a day. I knew what I wanted was a day where I just sit and like trying to do that thing that we were talking about with yoga, where you're able to press pause on this spinning atlas. And it was just a really gorgeous day of like lovely people, amazing energy, and it was the perfect balance of like rest, meditation, learning about the history of it and how to put that into practical use, and then being attuned, which was great, even though you got my last name wrong.
I still do. I mean, the
Simonson.
Y throws me.
I know, but it's not S-I.
Yeah, but
Think of it like Dyson. You don't say Dyson, you say Dyson.
no.
Simonson.
Well, I know, but I'm just too.
Oh, never
No,
mind.
it's
Do
not.
whatever you want.
But also, just there is a Jess Simonson who's also attuned out there. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're
Jess.
welcome, Jess. No, Jess Simonson, who's also a.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for God's sake.
One of these days.
Never mind. But yeah, I felt the attunement, the actual attunement part of it to be really powerful. And I almost felt like I was going in for like a Spanish oral exam. I felt like a bit nervous. And you kept like you take us one by one into another room. And I was like, oh my God, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? And like really watching intently for people that came out, like how did they look when they went in compared to how they came out? Like what's going to go on in there? What's going to happen? But it's really nice. Can you just talk a little bit about what processes you go through when we come into the space for attunement? Like what does it look like? Sit down.
So it's a very simple, yes, you sit for the attunement. You don't need to lie down for it. And there's an altar space, and it's a sacred ritual that I don't think I can share without you being actually getting attuned for it. There used to be quite a lot of rules and regulations about keeping certain symbols a secret. And I think all that's changing as the world is like, just give everyone all the energy.
Yeah, they
we
need
all
it.
need
They
it.
need it.
Stop keeping it a secret. And I think back in the day, you used to have to spend like 7 to 10 years training before you were even allowed to be attuned. Whereas we can, do it all in a day these days. But I also think, our energies have been upgraded, and we have the capacity to change our frequencies and our vibrations at a much faster rate, because we need to save the earth. But yes, once you are attuned, you do actually go through like a 21-day sort of detox as your energy recalibrates to that new frequency, and it's dislodges sort of old emotions and traumas and any stagnant energy that's been held there. So sometimes that process can be hard for some people. Sometimes it feels wonderful as you just get a bit recalibration, feel clearer and lighter, brighter, more receptive to the energies. But it's almost like a journey of self-development, as opposed to, obviously, we did level 1, and that's just for personal practice. And you can practice on friends and family, but you can't do it professionally. But I think it just helps heighten your sensitivity to energies in general. But energy healing, it should be accessible and open, available to everyone. Reiki, obviously you have to honor the practice who it came from and what sort of rules and guidelines they have set out for you. Um, and also, what I love about it is, it's part of my everyday life. I use it to charge my water, my food. I have a Reiki shower in the morning where I'll just cleanse my whole aura by just drawing the symbols on there. The kids will say it. They've even started writing it in their homework books as well, like drawing Chokurei, one of the symbols in their homework books, is just a way of kind of protecting and enhancing their energy and their abilities and their sort of centeredness. So I think I love that. And really, I think everyone should have access to, how has your Reiki journey been going since the training?
Great. I think it was normally in the past I've learnt something or been in a course to teach it,
Mm.
and that's not why I went into being attuned by you. I did it because I wanted to have a heightened sense of energy, and I felt so strongly that when I facilitate breathworks, group and one-on-one, that if I felt like there was more energy I could tap into to be able to hold space much better. And it is a process. Like, I hadn't really appreciated that. I thought I'd be attuned and then like my hands would be fizzing and I'd just be like rocking around my day. But it really is a practice. You do have to dedicate a lot of time to it. Um, and yeah, so I've loved it. I'm really interested to do the level 2 with you in September, and continue on this. But never, I don't know if I'll ever feel like I would want to facilitate it for someone else,
Mm.
or whether I just want to keep it. Sounds selfish, but I don't want to add another freaking string to my bow, for God's sake. I've got my bow's full. So just keep it for me, my friends and family, and like help, like do what you're doing, like for your kids to be able to do it instead of you sort of standing over them being like, right, Choku Ray on your homework, but right now they're just doing it. That must be so amazing. And like,
Yeah.
oh God, you've really done a great thing that they're doing it off their own back. And that's just so great. That's what I would like for
Yeah.
my future children.
Yeah. And it is that. It's like once you're attuned, it never goes away, but it is a relationship. So, although because I practice with it so much, my hands will just start going at lots of different times. It's about when you dedicate that time, even if it is just before you go to bed, to activate your hands and start to feel it. The more and more you do that, the more the Reiki is like, oh, she's digging me. Like, I'm gonna come to you.
She likes
Like,
me.
oh yeah, hi. And it'll just pop up, in random moments of you driving a car and you might be feeling a bit stressful, and then I'll feel like the Reiki will come through my hands and be like, oh, you wanna rest on my heart or on my inner thigh.
Very nice.
Wherever it is, it's kind of yeah, it is like a two-way relationship, and it makes me feel more connected with not just myself, but that kind of higher source energy. And that makes me feel quite safe and like I'm not alone. We are not alone.
We're not alone. That's lovely. Well, thank you so much for chatting through with us all about Reiki, and we'll pop in the show notes all of the next Reiki attunement and all of your Instagram and website details. And we'll see you all next time on Spiritual Waffle.
Bye.
Bye.